YouTube, welcome to the good, the bad, and the sequel Q&A video edition. My name's Doug. It's been a long time, so if you get the notifications or you check back all the time, you're like, hey, what new stuff? I want new stuff. Well, my son Jack, he was in the NICU since he was born on July 21st. He's been home for a week. So we're back. Me and Jamie are back on our sequel watching adventure, and this week's video interview is with a guy who, in the early part of his career, he loved acting. He loved it, but he didn't find his footing until he became a bad guy. And I'm talking about actor Jasper Cole. We talked Macgruber, being cut from Jason Takes Manhattan, but the experience he had from that. And auditioning. We had a lot of cool audition stories, some about him, and then some really cool celebrity ones that he knows personally from the person. His friend was friends with a very famous actress, so great story about that. Because I brought up the great legendary Danny DeVito story. You'll hear it in the interview. And again, this video interview, it's unedited, uncut, but it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, Jasper was real cool. Do me a favor before I start this video interview, hit the bell, subscribe, like, share us. You could find all of our other sequel reviews or interviews on this channel, or you can go to our website, sequelsonly.com, if that's easier for you. And for Jasper, we are going to be covering the Purge Anarchy. He had a small scene as a homeless guy, but even small scenes, which you would think are small roles, have some really intricate things that get cut. And Jasper's is kind of crazy. What went involved to the scene that he shot versus the one that made it into the actual movie. It's a fun movie. Can't wait for Jamie to watch it. And yeah, so without further ado, here is actor, pretty awesome bad guy, Jasper Cole.
Getting some snow?
Yeah, just a little bit. I can't even complain. This is like really been mild, but my wife's a teacher and I want her to stay home. So I'm hoping maybe I'll do the whole inside out pajamas so she can have a day off.
Oh, that sounds good. Well, you know, I'm in Palm Springs and it was 77 today.
Ah, nice. Well, it's so weird. Like you grew up in Georgia?
Yeah.
Is that where you're from?
Mm-hmm.
So you're used to like warm weather, but it's so funny how like your body can get tricked.
Yep.
Like it was freezing the last 2 weeks. Today was 48 and I was like sweating. So
I know when it's like 60 out here, we're just like a bunch of pussy, you know, we're all bundled up.
So awesome, man. I love talking to people about how they got into this crazy business because the success rate is so low.
Yep.
And you really have to love what you're doing. And of course, you've been doing it a long time, so you love it. But I love talking about like the beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
So what part of Georgia did you grow up in?
I grew up in Athens, Georgia, which is
nice.
Georgia Bulldogs, University of Georgia.
Yep.
Just won the national championship. So
awesome.
Yeah, I grew up in a college town, which is kind of cool because it, you know, brought in all kinds of different people from all over the world. And then I moved to Atlanta right after high school, literally, and was there for 2 years or 3 years. And then I moved to LA. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, I had come to LA. Fast. I came to LA for a pilot and went back and forth. And anyway, I was 23 when I moved here. Yeah.
Wow. So what was what like, do you remember what age you were? Was it something you watched on TV or did you go to a play and you're like, I want to do that?
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, I grew up, I had three brothers. I was the youngest. We played all the sports. It wasn't really cool to be like in theater growing up. So I, you know, was the peer pressure, but I would sneak into like the auditorium when this high school was putting on the productions, and I kind of really wanted to act, but I didn't do it. So I grew up on 70s, 80s television, pop culture. I just always loved television. So I waited till after high school to sort of, I always said I was a closeted thespian. So I flung the door open and went after it.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, like Brian Thompson, if you know who he is, like Cobra,
yeah,
his thing, big dude. He I think he ended up playing football in college. His buddy sort of said, "Hey, I'm trying out for this play." He's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." And then he saw the girls that he like wanted to be around.
I've heard that a lot.
So then he does this thing on a whim, and then boom, look at
his career.
It's crazy how it happens, you know?
Yeah, I tell young actors, because now I'm like the old guy, on set,
Yeah.
and I always tell them, you can't predict what's going to happen, in this crazy. Well, that's true of life in general, but this business, you just have to stay in the game. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it makes sense to maybe leave and go have a better life, but
yeah.
But if you can just stay in there, they will eventually get to you. I think
it's true.
Eventually they're like, "Oh my God, Jasper's still here. Can someone give him a part, please?" Yeah. That old thing.
I don't know if you ever like Stephen Colbert, who look at him now, but he always said like when it came to like being in Second City, you put in your time and then you got your shot. And then it didn't mean you're going to be famous, but at least you got that shot. But you have to be there in order to have that chance, and you have to stick in with it. And it's pretty cool looking at your IMDb, which we'll go through like we don't talk about every single one, but like just the different parts and different shows you guest starred on and movies you're in. And like recently, I think it's pretty cool that you're like on a big series with like Ernie Hudson. That is like,
that's
cool.
Actually, it's not officially announced, but I can tell you we just got picked up for season 4.
Sweet.
And actually, it's one of the rare times I'm still alive, my character, because I never make it. I always get killed. Yeah. So we're going back. They actually started today shooting. I don't go back till next week. So yeah, I get to be in more scenes with Ernie and the guys, and it's so funny because I play this biker, the leader of a biker gang. I can't ride a motorcycle, all this stuff that Jasper cannot do. I get to pretend to do on
That's great.
TV and film. Yeah.
That's the Fonz. Henry Winkler never rode a motorcycle.
Exactly, and was kind of like a nerdy kind of guy, in real life.
Yeah,
and. He kind of, that's what, like, people who know me personally, they're always laughing like that I'm such a bad ass in these characters, because I'm not in real life. I'm like, shooting the guns, and it's all pretend for me. It's all fun.
But that's what's cool. I think I've talked to a few people that were like, I would say career criminals movie wise, like in villains, right. And they're like the nicest people, like Gregory S. Cummings. He's like the nicest guy. And throughout the 90s, he played every kind of like bad guy, different ethnicities from different countries. And like, that's who he was. And I think I was going to ask you, like, your look, you wear that because it helps because of you, right?
I mean, it's funny because for many, many years, I was just sort of, I wasn't leading guy and I wasn't character enough. So all in my 20s and 30s, I would just sort of play the best friend or the whatever. And casting people would always tell me, Jasper, when you get older, you're really going to work. And I'd be like, shit, what am I going to do for the next 20 years? But I tell you, I turned 40, the face changed. I got my first bad guy role. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to lean into this. So I grew the long hair and the beard. And I say this, I can't get rid of it. I don't want to get. Sometimes in my personal life, it would be cool to like not look homeless. I try to clean up a little bit, but it took me years to get on any list at all, So I love being typecast. I tell actors, listen, in TV, you got to be typecast because that's where they want to put you. They want to put you in a lane, and like Danny Trejo is the OG of character actors. So, and people think I'm Danny Trejo. First of all, we look nothing alike. He's Hispanic, but I always say, if you know Danny, he's like one of the kindest, sweetest, funniest guys. Now, of course, he does have real life street cred being in prison.
Yeah. He
has real cred. The rest of us don't. But most of my character actor buddies are cool guys. There's not a lot of we're not competitive with each other. It's kind of like we all when we used to show up at auditions. Now everything self-tape, but I always knew, if it's not my day, it'll be Ken's day, or they want my look, or they want the redheaded guy. Any of us can do the part. It just comes down to what look do they want, really? Which creepy look do they want?
What creepy look do they want?
Who's the creepiest today?
No, I think it's cool. I think you're right. When you're a character actor, guess what? You're working, you're getting paid. I'm helping actor Larry Hankin. He's a character actor. He's been in like a ton of stuff. I'm helping him write a book, and he got to a point in his career that he was like, I don't want to be a TV dad. So he started like not shaving, and he only went for homeless guy auditions.
I probably have seen it. I mean, a lot of these guys I don't know by name, but if I see them, yeah. And so he started booking
homeless, and then after he did like 2 or 3 of them, you look at his IMDb, it's like a bunch in a row. And I saw that similarity in yours. There's like a few in a row, and it's like, hey, whatever works.
Oh, listen, I say to people, I work for my health and pension and my insurance,
Yeah.
That we have to, I mean, we're the middle guy, journeyman actor, that just shows up. And that's why I rarely ever go past a few episodes, because I get killed, or, I mean, I have amazing death scene reels, of the ways I've been killed. But it doesn't do much for longevity on a show, but it's good. It's good for the reel.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So back to like the beginnings, like you said, you're like a thespian behind closed doors.
Right.
So what was that first step towards it? Was it doing like when you like went into the room in the auditorium and saw that? Did you audition then, or how did that work?
I kept it. So right after high school, I drove out to LA, met some casting people. I just was always looking back. I was just really driven. I don't know what the fuck. Can I cuss on here? Sorry. I don't know what the hell I was doing, thinking I was driving to. But so what happened is a casting director finally said, Jasper, you really need to, you don't have anything to agent or sell. You need to go and learn your craft. So I moved to Atlanta, and I enrolled at the Alliance Theater School, which was a full-time playwriting, acting, the whole curriculum. And so while there, I met this female writer, Becky Kennedy, and we co-wrote a play together, and we got it put up in Atlanta, and it ran for a while, and then a producer in LA saw it, and he said, it's like with the cigar and the gold chains, hey kid, if you ever come to LA, well, he didn't realize you don't tell a 22-year-old that, because literally like 3 weeks later, we packed the car up and came to LA and like knocked on his door. Ivan Spiegel was his name, and I'm sure he was like, what the hell? So he had this little theater in West LA, and he had this big long-running play called Bleacher Bums, and he said, well, I'll put you guys on late at night after Bleacher Bums and see if you can get an audience. And it was a talk show spoof set in a cable access show in South Georgia, and we played these 2 idiot hosts, and we started getting a following, and the celebrities started coming, and we just got agents from it, and I thought, oh wow, well this is how it happens, we've arrived. And then of course, like after 2 years, that went down, and then I had to get to the real decisions of, okay, are you really going to pursue this? So I just kept doing. I did theater, probably 2 or 3 plays a year. I commercials, and studied acting, and just became that like struggling actor in LA. I mean, looking back, I had some big breaks, but I just wasn't in the moment a lot. When you're in your 20s, you're just so fast trying to get to the next thing that you don't really appreciate what you're doing at the time, because you're always trying this. There's something bigger coming,
Yeah.
And now that I'm old, I look back and go, this whole thing about when I make it, I talk about this a lot, like quit saying when I make it, because we've been making it the whole time. We just thought that there was going to be some job that changed everything. But because you talk to actors, you can talk to the biggest stars, and they don't ever really feel like they, quote, made it, because
no, it's true.
it's very tenuous, no matter where you're at, it can all go away quickly. And
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people on the roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I always ask people like, what was the role? Obviously, that you didn't feel like you made it, but you maybe like in your head thought, you know what, I could really do this as a career because everybody loves it because that's why you go into it. And this guy who was like a sketch writer, he was on the Jenny McCarthy show, actor, and a ton of stuff. This guy Jack Plotnick, he goes, the day I could
I
quit
know
my
Jack really well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's amazing. Go ahead. Well, I'm curious what Jack said.
So Jack goes, yeah, I felt like I could make it. And he didn't even have a show that he was on, not a movie he was in. He goes, when I could quit my catering job, that's when I knew that I could make it.
That's it. I was I was the permanent temp at an ad agency, Ogilvy and Mather Advertising. I was sort of the part-time actor guy that they would let me leave and go on auditions and come back. And I was basically running a production company in their mailroom, and they didn't know it. But it's the same thing. On my 4th year there, I finally got a pilot that paid me, which at the time was a lot of money. And I thought, you know what? I finally just got to trust that I can quit this day job and make a living at it. And I threw caution to the wind, and I did. When you don't have something, a plan B, you just have to sort of make it happen. And there was no going back. I mean, so I understand what Jack is saying. And it changes. Like it's in different phases. Sometimes you get this great play, and the part was career changing, even if not a lot of people saw it. Or you get that one big national commercial. Just actors need these little things of validation along the way to make them realize, wait, I'm doing the right thing. I just got to hang in here.
What was your first things in LA? Like was it like commercials first, or was it?
Yeah, well, in Atlanta, there was a film called Tennessee Stallion that was filming in Athens.
I saw that on there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I went to this bar and signed up to be an extra, and it was Audrey and Judy Landers and one of the Van Patten. I think it was Vince Van Patten. I don't know, but I got bumped up from being an extra to a speaking part, and that's where you can then get your SAG card. And so that was my first ever on a set, and then I got a Seiko jewelry commercial. That's how my name. I changed my name at that point. I didn't grow up Jasper Cole. I grew up somebody else, and I had to join the union. The next day, I was shooting the commercial, and I had to make a decision. And I told her my real name, and she looked it up, and she goes, "Well, there's already a whatever, but he spells it with a different letter." And I'm this cocky. Yeah. I was like, "Oh no. I can't. I mean, clearly I'm going to be a star, so we can't have two names." And she goes, "Well, what do you want to call yourself?" And I swear to God, there was a map of Georgia behind her, and I saw Jasper, Georgia, and I went, "Jasper Cole. Just call me Jasper Cole. That's fine."
That's amazing.
Just an idiot. Seriously.
I love that.
And that's how I joined the union. And then it was, because I'm a junior too. Like I'm the junior of my dad's name.
Yeah.
So when I tried to explain to my parents, and I was like, "Well, Dad, think about it. If I do a lot of dumbass stuff as an actor and get some bad publicity, no one's going to ever know that I'm your son." Yeah. So I'm not going to do anything to the family name, right? So that's how that
That's
happened.
Awesome.
But and I think my first TV role was, I'd have to look at, I don't know if it's Charles in Charge or Married with Children. I don't know. It's one of the,
I have them up here. No, because the first ones I wrote down, like, because there was that one, the Tennessee one.
And
then after that, it was like in 88. There was things you did before that, but then in 88, that's where it like sort of like seemed like it picked up.
Yeah.
So to speak, because each year it seemed like you were doing at least like 3 or 4 things, because that's 18 again.
Yep.
Alien Nation, and then the Baywatch pilot.
That's right. Baywatch was my first TV. But so I was up until 94. I was still working at the ad agency. So any of the credits like before 94, those were guest spots where they would let me leave and go shoot for a few days or come back or whatever. Um, so I would, yeah. But then I started getting national commercials, and back in that day, those days, you could really do well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they pretty much know how much it's going to run before you get it. But but again, I look back on some of the commercials I got and the money we were making. It's like, well, I mean, thank God I had a brother that was a big fight, who was a good guy at like saving money because
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about saving money in my 20s. I
Yeah.
mean, I did later on, but I've always lived way below my means. Because I always thought about getting older and wanting to have the pension and all that stuff. So, yeah. So, but yeah, that I guess the Baywatch pilot was my first TV thing. That was with
That's awesome.
Parker Stevenson, um, and then my friend Gina Heck actually played Parker's wife in that, and I believe that's part of the reason I got seen for that. See, I can't see what I mean. It's like I don't do drugs or drink, and I can't remember half the show. It's just
it's so long ago. Don't worry about
yeah,
that.
it's just all kind of blurs together at a certain point. But I've been
and then on the one that I found very fascinating was so Jason Takes Manhattan. You were in that?
I got cut out of that, but I still shot it. So which was now that's an example of a great experience where that was what, number 8 or 7 or 5, I don't know, it was
8. Yeah.
Is it that many? Yeah. And I was a fan of those other ones, but it was a kick-ass director, and it was another example of like you just get that experience of working. I played a trainer in a gym that it's cut out, so I don't make the movie, but I think I'm uncredited in it. But yeah, I mean, again, just to be my name attached to that franchise was great. That was a moment for me where I thought, oh, okay, this is another. In those days, you really had to go in and audition, and you're up against a lot of people for these roles, so it was validation, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. No, I've obviously grown up in Jersey. The movie only was in Manhattan for 10 minutes when they shot the Times Square scenes.
Yeah.
But I've always loved those movies, and Friday the 13th, the first one, shot in Jersey. But I've interviewed now, including yourself, like 4 people that worked on it. 2 people that wouldn't have been on that ship. The first girl, Tiffany Paulson, she dies in like the opening scene on the little boat. And this guy, Michael Benyayer, who was one of the thugs that gets killed. But I just chatted with Ken Kiersinger, who was the stunt coordinator on that movie, and he played Jason's double throughout the movie whenever they use second unit.
Right. But see, all that kind of experience, and that's why I always say, because a lot of times I've been cut out not that, I've been lucky, I've been cut out a lot, but a lot of times our parts get edited down anyway. I always say it's really it's the experience of making something that you take with you. We don't really, as actors, we have no control over how it ends up, or unfortunately, sometimes your best takes, you did this kick-ass scene, and then you see it on TV or you watch the movie, and you're like, they didn't even use that take.
I know.
Actors have to understand too, when you're a co-star or even a guest star, it's not about you, it's about the leads. So they're going to sometimes take their best take, their coverage. Who gives a damn how bad you were, So it's, yeah. Just have to let it go.
That's so great. And then from there, you're on like the series, and then the commercials, the ones that you had listed on like the bio, whoever put the bio on your IMDb, were like DirecTV. That was more recent, right?
Yeah, that was with Rob Lowe when Rob was doing series of bad.
They were great. Decisions. The cable, yeah.
Bad Decisions. That was one. Yep, I did that same year. I did a 1-800 Contacts with the bird that's in all the Pirate of the Caribbean movies. His name is Chip, and this guy, he had like this really flamboyant gay couple that owned him, that dressed like him. I mean, they dressed in the same colors and everything. And we were on this big make-believe ship on a, and here comes the guys with the bird, and I go, they never even told me there'd be a bird in the scene. And so they caught this big macaw on me, and they were telling me about, he's been in this movie and he's a star and he goes to Comic-Con and everyone loves him and he's amazing. And so we do the first rehearsal, and the bird has to say F you, basically. He has to say, and we did the first take and it was fine. And then we got to the second take and he says F you at the wrong time. And we all start laughing. And so he's right here and I'm laughing. He decides to chomp down on the side of my face and my eye and wouldn't let go. So here's this bird grabs onto me, and the owners, these two guys, they were screaming as if somebody were shooting them. And then the ad agency and the production companies were freaking out. And it was like the last shot of the day. And all I could feel was like all this blood coming down my face. And I thought, oh my God, I have literally lost. I've been blinded by a macaw on a fucking commercial. And I mean, luckily the way he grabbed me was just like above and below the eyeball.
Yeah.
But you can imagine, I mean, they were just like, most actors would have been, call my lawyer, call my agent, get me but I remained chill and cool. Luckily they got the first take, because otherwise,
oh, good,
I had to go get stitches and it was just a hot mess. So that's my
that bird was like,
my
you're
memory.
Not gonna laugh at me.
But he was like, fuck you. Everybody was laughing. Yeah. And he's like, wait a minute. What a diva, right?
Yeah.
But those poor owners, they call me, they text me for weeks. Are you okay?
That's great.
Yeah. So,
oh my God.
I'm not going to be the actor that, well, if I'd lost my eye, clearly I would have.
Oh yeah. Well, that happened, but no, that's insane. So then like all around that point, like you said, so many shows like Saved by the Bell, The New Class, Married with Children, like one of my favorites of all time. And there's just so many every year. You're like always working, and that's obviously how you hone your craft.
I was very blessed. Yeah. And just to get to be on these sets, and that's how you learn, just because, even if you have a small part, you have to be there all week. And I was just always a sponge. Like I've always knew, because I produced, the play I came to town with. So I was always producing as well as acting. So I could never just, it's great to just show up and be the actor, because then if something's wrong, it's not your problem. But I always wanted to do more than just act. So I would want to go to the video village and watch the camera. And I never wanted to direct, though. I'm like one of the few actors that I don't want to work that hard. That's really, yeah. And I can't tell I'm not good at talking acting to other actors. Like I don't think it's brain surgery, to be honest. So I can't stand actors that like pontificate on their craft and their method. And I'm like, everyone has their method. Just hit your marks. Let's get home by 10 hours and go home, So but it's such a collaborative effort, when you get on a set. Yeah.
Were people kind enough
fast.
to give like tips and stuff? Like I talked to Jennifer Lyons, who she had enough tips growing up. Her uncle was James Best.
Oh, okay.
From Dukes of Hazzard.
Wow,
so
wow.
like she had that growing up, but she said Ed O'Neill was like the nicest to her, because she was on like 4 episodes. She was Kelly's friend, and he like pulled her aside and like taught her how to wait for a laugh. And like he was like, yeah, like almost like a dad moment, like when she paused to wait for the audience to laugh. And I think
because
things like that are amazing.
3 camera. Well, it was 3 camera at that time. That's like, as a theater actor, it's like the best of both, because you're in front of a live audience. However, yes, it's the cameras are set with marks. You've got to say the line, hoping there's a laugh. Hold for the laugh, and then they change the jokes on the spot a lot. So the writers, you'll do a take and then they huddle together. Like, so Jasper, this time say, my eyes hurt or something, and so you got to be ready to sort of like change it on the spot. But Married with Children was like that, Fox's first real show. And so they were like the ugly stepchild. They were getting all the press about how raunchy they were and stuff. So it was kind of like a frat party atmosphere there. It's a real, except Katie Seagal. Katie Seagal was very, ironically, I mean, she was very serious about the work, which, I mean, it was a funny show. We weren't doing Shakespeare, but she took it very serious because she really hadn't done much acting. She came from being a harlot with Bette Midler. She was a singer. And so really, I think she had done a play in LA. Someone saw her in the play, and that's how she got Married with Children. So
it's crazy.
This was like her first big thing. Yeah.
I watched on the documentary with them, she put out an album, and even when she was doing like the rounds on talk shows, she was talking more about her singing because she put out an album.
I think that was her great love, and and then of course, I'm sure, who really would have known like Married with Children took off, right? I'm sure she did it like to get into the acting thing and get her first TV thing. Ironically, I know her long-term manager now, just as an off thing, and she's been with the same manager from day one. She's very loyal.
Wow.
She's a really good lady. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. You're right. Like that was like for, I think every decade there's like that lower middle class family show that works.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them don't, but that show is just one of the best.
I think they were pitched initially as the anti-Cosby. They were, Married with Children was supposed to be like everything Cosby wasn't.
That's true. Doctor, shoe salesman, woman shoe salesman.
Right. Because this was pre-Roseanne, so it was like, they were the first blue collar, well, not the first blue collar sitcom in history, but it was a raunchy, you know what I mean? It was a spoof, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I thought was pretty cool on your IMDb, and I tried to, so this was because on your photos that you have, most of your photos are with the beard. And one that I love is I interviewed Susie Lanier Bramlett. She's like one of the nicest.
She's a dear friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I talked to her for like hours, and then like her little clique that she grew up with, she connected me with the guy that was like the creator on TGI. Like most of the shows there in TGIF.
Right.
He was a creator. And
Eric
friends.
Cohen?
No, not Eric Cohen. It was, gosh,
that's okay.
His name.
Well, Eric went on to be her brother-in-law. Her sister married Eric, who created Welcome Back, Kotter.
That's how she got that first gig. But even he worked on that show. I have it somewhere, but no. But looking at you without your beard. So one show that I found on YouTube that has a really big following, like underground following, I would say, but Acapulco Bay.
Oh, wow. Yes, that was a show that I believe that was a telenovela. That's when they were taking Mexican, Latin telenovelas and going to shoot them in an English version. And they thought, I think that was Fox. They were hoping it was going to be a nighttime thing. And we shot that in Mexico City, I think. Yeah. But yeah, so it was, and I just had a one-time spot on there, but yeah, it was a bunch of American actors who are taking a telenovela in English and recreating it. I had no idea what it was at the time.
Yeah. No, they have you listed for 3 episodes, and I thought it was funny. Your character's name was Ron Swanson. But if you watch that, I'm not even kidding. The only photos that are on your IMDb, I think there's 2 with you without the beard. And I don't know what year they're from, but there's a guy in that show. I swear I thought it was you. And then when I watched the credits, I'm like, but that's not his name. But it looked like you.
Where does the show air now?
It's just on YouTube. I Googled it on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But people were like, the comments were like, thank you so much for posting this. I love this show. And I'm like, it's so cool when like shows like that. I talked to so many people, and the things that people remember them for are the ones that they didn't think would work.
Right.
I think that's what I love about cult classics.
Me too.
And fandom. But that guy's name was Bill Bickley. William Bickley is her long time. She grew up with him in Dallas, and she also grew up with another person. I can't think of her name. Huge soap actress and a million bajillion
Morgan
things,
Fairchild.
Yes.
That's one of her close friends.
Yeah.
Morgan's real name is Patsy Kinney, I think. Patsy. She puts her
It's
real
not
name.
a bad name.
Yeah, no, she and Morgan. Yeah, there's another Camilla Carr is another actress and writer who also came out from Dallas with Susie. Oh yeah,
Got a little
Susan and I had the same agent and manager for many, many, many years, and
oh wow.
yeah, we still haven't. We're trying to work together on something because I think she has some of the best comedic timing ever. I mean, I know people know her from Hills Have Eyes, of course, but she's a really good comic actress. It's really
Yeah, it was her love was obviously with her late husband was music.
Delaney.
But she all the shows if you looked on and the fact that she was the first girl on
Three's Company.
Unbelievable. And when I watched that I was like how is this?
And she was actually crazy. The second. They did a pilot before her.
I didn't see that one.
Find that version because there's another girl, I forgot her name, and then Suze came in. And isn't it funny because when you watch the final one with Suzanne Summers, it's the exact directions and everything. I mean, everything Suze Lanier did, it was like they just did she talk about doing Three's Company and the how she was cast and it was rushed and they literally like threw her in there. I think she only had like 2 days to get in and replace the other girl. Yeah. It's crazy. And you see Suze now and I mean you see her then, it's like that's an example where that just wasn't her part, right? I mean, that wasn't supposed because that would have been life changing, career changing, but it was going to be Suzanne Summers' part, you know. And then look at the drama Suzanne had from that, you know.
I know.
So
I think we're right about the point that you said, like that things obviously started to change for you. You quit the ad agency. Do you remember like what the show was or the movie that like it really changed for you?
Well, it was a pilot that never aired. That's the other thing. Back in the day, I think at one time I did like 10 or 11 pilots that never.
Wow.
You know, pilot season was designed to find new talent. That's how it used to be. I mean, you would always have like a main star, but it was to find new people. Now pilots are all stars, you know, you can't, but that one was an NBC pilot about 3 female detectives who are undercover detectives they're waitresses by night and undercover. I mean, it was so stupid, but it was like a good chunk of money that, you know, because you sign, and when you go into test for those shows, you have to sign the 5-year contract even before you do the pilot. So that way you're locked into what you're agreeing to get. So if they could pick up the pilot, I mean, some shows go back later, like Friends, and renegotiate. But
yeah, of course.
but I did so many pilots that never got picked up, and I used to say, "Damn, what?" You know. But again, those were mostly comedies, and they were. I didn't know I was going to get to this part in my career playing the bad guy. So looking back, it's like that was supposed to be a money grab, Jasper. You know, that was a money grab and a learning experience. Because I really thought I was going to be the sitcom guy always, like the comedy person. I never thought I'd be playing bad guys. That was just like unheard of.
No way. You know, like, that's funny. That's crazy. 10 or 11 like I thought about this and obviously it wouldn't be able to happen. I'm sure there's somewhere in some vault somewhere. But when COVID first hit, I don't know who I was talking to. I think it was a producer. And I was like, you know, it'd be so cool. Cause obviously there's something terrible going on in the world, but I'm like, people aren't going to be able to film for a while. Man, that'd be wild if they showed them. Obviously there would be money because some actor maybe was a nobody then, and now they're a huge star and they'll want more of a chunk of change. But I thought that'd be so cool to watch these like random one-off pilots to see. So I think pilots are so fascinating because sometimes they're really like, they're trying to give you a summary of what you're going to see. But other times they're absolutely so bad, like Seinfeld. And then they get a shot and then they go they flourish from there. But I thought that'd be so cool to watch old pilots.
I know. Someone told me recently that anything before like 1990, they don't even keep I, I guess it was on beta and film. It's a whole different process, and a lot of them they just burn the stuff. But sometimes a pilot will get listed on IMDb like as a TV movie, even if they don't air it, I think. But now with all these different platforms and places to put stuff, I can't keep. I get little residuals sometimes for what I got one for once. I got a penny residual and I saved it because that was the net. The gross was 3 cents, and I'm thinking, okay, you paid for the payroll company, the printing of the check, the envelope. I mean, now it's direct deposited, but in the day I used to call it mailbox money. You would go to your mailbox and get checks, and it was like Christmas Day. I mean, you'd open one might be 3 cents, but one might be, $300 or more. Or you just never knew.
Yeah.
Now they get direct deposited into our accounts, but I mean,
not as fun.
No, you get but you get that email, and you can click and see. And a lot of times it's like, what? This was like 30 years ago or 25 years ago, or it's amazing what they keep up with. And somewhere they're airing somewhere, or they're like DVD sales. And Macgruber was my biggest 2009 when I got Macgruber. That was like the last stage I'm still in of like, that took my career to another level in terms of getting in the room for the Coen brothers and reading for big projects or whatever. But I mean, Macgruber got such a cult following, and now it's, a series on Peacock, but I get residuals from that all the time. Like, wow, people are buying this little movie. I said when I found out they were doing the series, Yorma, the director, I texted him. I was like, can't Zeke come back as a zombie? Because I'm dead. I get killed.
Yeah.
And I thought he was going to go for it for a moment. He's like, oh, we should work on that. It didn't happen. But the series is still very funny.
Oh, man, that's so cool. So when did it change? When did you get to the point that you, like, one was like, I'm going to try to be a bad guy? What was that turning point?
Okay, so it's a credit called Prom Queen, and it was Michael Eisner's Prom Queen, which was really, I think, 2000.
I have it down at 2007.
7, and it was the first really web series that they used to call them web series, not digital. That sort of was a big deal because it was Michael Eisner and Macgruber Productions, and it was a kick-ass series of. I was the stepfather. I was the evil stepfather to one of the high school kids on the show. It's the first time I'd really played a bad guy, and I just got great response from it. And like, who is this, creepy guy, and blah blah blah. And so I sort of had to reintroduce myself to casting people to the industry because they were so used to me being sort of the sidekick, the funny guy. I just didn't even look the same anymore because I changed so much physically. At that time, when I did that show, my hair wasn't even long. That's when I decided to lean into it and create this whole look. And so from 2007 till now, I've had this like almost 15-year run of being one of the Hollywood's bad guys. One of many bad guys. When they call me, I don't know where this Hollywood bad guy came from because there's a lot of guys playing bad guys. Jasper Cole does not have the, monopoly on that. So
yeah. So I'm sure those roles were around when you were always auditioning. What like attracted you to that role? Did your manager or agent be like, Jasper, you should take a look at this?
Yeah, I think again, it's just another audition. We just never can plan stuff, right? And whenever you try to make something happen, it really doesn't happen. So for me, it was just another. I remember thinking, what is a web series? I thought, well, do they shoot it like a regular show? I couldn't wrap my head around it. That it's just a regular film. It's just going to air on computers and phones and stuff. So yeah, that show got daytime Emmy nominations, and then there was a sequel, Prom Queen Summer Nights, that the character was on, and that's when I really got into a little bit into the social media thing. But they had us do fan pages and stuff, and then it was Macgruber though that Universal really wanted us all to get on Facebook, because I think Facebook had been around a little bit at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Prom Queen was really it for me. That was the beginning. And I don't think I have not played a non-bad guy. I mean, even when I'm on a comedy now, I'm still the bad guy. I'm not usually the funny guy. I have a new digital series that's coming out called Kombucha Cure, that I also produce, and I get to really be
nice,
the quirky. I mean, he's still Vietnam vet quirky, but he's a really funny. I get to go back to my comedy roots in this one, yeah, and play like this weird
awesome.
kind of northern exposure kind of thing, yeah.
So how do you like to audition? Is there like a method to it? Like when you're being, I know that you said it's just like, hey, anybody can do it, but is there a thing you do to go into an audition when you're playing a bad guy? Are you face on? Because in your photos, I'm telling you, you're like the nicest looking guy. You look so chill, and just some of those photos are just like, you do this thing with your eyes and it just changes your face.
Yeah. And the face, so a director told me years ago, it's like, Jasper, when you already look the part, you don't have to add stuff onto it, because for TV, everything is like, the camera's like right here. So just the slightest raise of an eyebrow is like huge, right? So you learn to play everything really small. But what changed it was, coming from the theater, you're never supposed to lock in a performance at an audition for theater. You're supposed to pretend, like, show that you're open and you can do. But TV, you need to do exactly in your audition what you're going to do on set. But I didn't know that. This is how I started. So I started looking at the audition as, I've already booked the job. I'm actually showing up to shoot. So, because most of the auditions, there's a camera in the room. So I would go in as if I'm already shooting it. They just clearly decided not to use me. But I changed my mind about auditions. So I looked forward to them, because I thought I was going to work that day, rather than go in there like me, love me. No, I already have the job.
That's
I'm just
great.
doing it today. And it changed my whole attitude about auditions. I looked forward to them, like, I'm here, let's go. And then the whole self-taping, even prior to COVID, we had moved to self-taping for about a year before. I love the self-taping also, because you don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to go in the room. There is you don't get the advantage of having an adjustment in the room where a caster might say, let's do it again, Jasper, but do something else. So
yeah.
I try to do 2 or 3 takes when I self-tape, just to show them something different. But it's so much better than driving and parking and sitting in the waiting room. And even commercials now. Commercial auditions are all done on Zoom, so it's just like this. You're in the waiting room and you're like, hey, Doug, how you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a while. It's all the chit chat that you would have in person, but you don't have to drive somewhere and park your car. And then they invite you in, and you click a button and you walk, and then suddenly they're all on the screen. And shit, I love it. I can't imagine ever going back in the room again.
Yeah, I work from home, so I totally get it. I would never. I really don't want to ever go in an office again.
The problem now is we do all these. Then when I book a job, I'm like, oh shit! Now I gotta go do it. I'm like, I just wanted to book it. I didn't think I was gonna have to go and actually show up and then when I show up now, I'm like, how long is how many hours are we going to be here? That's the problem. I watch scripted stuff now, and I'm always like, oh shit, who was sick that day? Like, I can tell you, I can watch anything I've done. If I was sick that day, I know if I had a fever, if I was puking in my trailer. It's so funny, like the stuff. I can tell you exactly what was happening in my life, like what drama was happening before they said action. Some hilarious. But I
No, I
say,
love asking about auditions. I think it's like the coolest thing. Like my favorite audition story is Danny DeVito. He's another Jersey guy. When he went in
yeah.
for Louis De Palma, he walked in and he looked at the people behind the table and he said, "Hey, who wrote this shit?" And he threw it down and then he like walked out.
And and that's the character.
Yeah, and they chased him down and they're like, "You're a Louis De Palma." Like, I think it's so cool because I think you have to, and I love that mindset. Like, I think if you go in there and you're like, "Hey, I want you to love me, love Jasper," but I love that you would go in and be like, "I got this part." They're just, this is just a technicality,
Yeah, I mean, I would go in ready. Like I always say to actors, I mean, you have to judge the room. If they want to chit chat and have small talk first, do that, fine. But it's the same on the set. You do the chit chat, and then they say, "So for me, I'm just on the set waiting." Um, and then she'd say, "You're ready," and we do it, and then it'd be just like a director. We do another take, and I saw my booking started really increasing after that. I mean, there's no kind of like crazy method or anything acting. I mean, I would still, because the other thing you're being judged about in the room is, do you really want to spend 12 hours a day with this guy? Like, is he
That's true.
crazy? Or is he, I mean, I tell actors all the time that the most talented person does not get the job. It's usually who they want to be around for 10 hours on a set. And there, pretty much every time we book a job, they always say, we're pending network approval. Well, what network approval means is they are running your name through the database to see what the MO is on you. Would you work with this guy again or whatever? Is there any kind of, does he have an ankle bracelet on, or, does he have a warrant out for his arrest? So yeah, it's a small town and it's a small business, and your attitude makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, right. No, it is like the smallest of. Everybody seems to either have known each other or bumped into each other or on the same set with each other.
Yeah.
It's like that.
It's a small town, but now I've been doing it like 35 years, so a lot of the casting directors that I really knew, they've either sort of retiring, or so now it's like you gotta always try to stay current. Everybody Loves Doris Roberts was a dear friend of mine who was the mom on Everybody Loves Raymond,
Yeah.
and I knew Doris from the time I moved here, so I watched her career and ups and downs. But the guy who played her husband, Peter Boyle, it's kind of the Danny DeVito story. Doris was directing a play, and she got the call to go for the sitcom, and she had heard it's another stand-up comedian getting a sitcom. And I remember she was like, "God damn it, I'm not gonna be bothered with another asshole comedian who can't." And Bruce and I, my friend and her, we go, "Doris, you really got to go. Just go. I mean, what?" And so we sat in at her rehearsal and did the rehearsal for her play, so she could go to Warner Brothers and do this audition. And she came back and she said, "Oh." She goes, "Oh my God, do you guys know who Peter Boyle is?" And but when she said Young Frankenstein and a couple of things, this is the same thing. Peter, I guess it was when they were testing for the network, and they wanted her to test with Peter. So they were waiting and waiting, and he hadn't gotten there yet. I guess he got lost trying to park on the lot. So he just like burst in the door, and he was like, "God damn it, if you want me to come in here, find some fucking parking for me." And he looks at Doris and he goes, "What's wrong with you?" Or something like that. That was Marie and Frank. Like, and so he threw his script down and walked out, and he got the job. And Doris was like horrified, like she couldn't believe that he got the job. But I mean, then they became really, really close. But that's another example where he probably thought, "I don't give a shit about this job." Other actors had come in, they had hit every moment and every beat and worked on it for hours, and you can't. If it's your part, it's your part.
Yeah, I think you're right. Can you imagine being in the waiting room? There's other people waiting to audition. Like, guys, just a few more minutes. I think Peter's going to be here soon. And they listen to that within earshot, that whole blow up. They're like, oh, he's out of here. He's not going to get it. And then he's got the part. You guys can go home.
I mean, she said he was just sweating because it was hot and it was in the summer. And, they make you park like way the fuck away from the place. And even now, when I get lost on these lots, and they give you a map, and it's like, who the fuck can read a map? But I can imagine how he came in. When Doris did Remington Steele before that, she played.
Yeah.
When they were casting that part, she had heard that part. Mildred was supposed to be like this gorgeous Playboy, sexy, blonde, young woman, and she had heard that all these people had been going in, and they couldn't find the part. So she said to her agent, "Can you give me an audition for that?" And her agent was like, "Well, Doris, they want this like sexy Playboy bunny." She goes, no, I did a play off Broadway where I played this dowdy secretary. Get me an audition. I want to go. My friend Bruce, who worked with her, went to the audition with her. They were sitting in the casting office. Sure enough, there were just all these models in there. One model would go in and come out, and then they said, Doris, are you ready? And Doris goes in, and Bruce is like, she's in there, and she's in there, and it's like all these people are waiting, literally like an hour. And Doris comes out and she closes the door and she turns and she goes like this to Bruce. They literally called her agent while she was in the room and made the offer for the part. So I tell actors all the time, you can change their mind. It doesn't happen a lot, but you can change their mind of what they thought the character was going to be. And that's happened to me a couple of times where the part was supposed to be older, like 70s, but they needed a creepy bad guy. And one time I went for this captured this movie, and I thought, why am I in this casting session? All these people are. But Dan Velez, the casting director, said to me after, he goes, no, I just wanted them to have an alternative choice, Jasper, in case they could go younger. And I got it. So
that's awesome.
But part of me, when I read the age on the thing, I almost didn't go to the audition because I thought, well, why am I going? So I tell actors, go to everything. Put yourself on tape for everything, because you may not get that job, but it can lead to another job.
Yeah, and you'll get better doing it.
And you can still draw your unemployment. Right? Yeah, actors live on unemployment.
So one thing that I thought was really cool on your IMDb, like, how'd you get connected with Leno?
Great example. Scott Ewell, the casting director. It was an audition to go in to play like I'm trying to think, what was the first thing I ever went in for? It was a prisoner in a Mexican jail, a drug addict in a Mexican jail, right? You think Leno. But I went in for that. This is the thing a lot of people don't know. They would shoot all these sketches. Then they would look at them, and by the time the show aired live, half of them never aired. They would just get cut. We would get paid for going there and doing them, but Scott would call that morning and be like, Jasper, can you be here at 2:00? And if I could, I'd run over and do something. A lot of times I missed it so there was a group of us that kind of got in this little Tonight Show players, and yeah, we would just go over and tape it. It would usually be with the director and the crew, and sometimes Jay would be in them, sometimes not. But one of mine was playing like the drunk Easter Bunny at the day after Easter at the White House. They had an Obama impersonator. Another one was a guy with a chainsaw that's trying to kill people. I mean, it was great though, because I got to sit in on the run-throughs of the Tonight Show, and Jay Leno, everything was scripted. So when I say everything, I mean they had someone sit in, and he went over the questions with a PA as if they were the star that night, and he did not go off his cards. There was no like improvising with him, not like a Letterman. And that was strange to me because I come from the improv world, So I learned a couple of times. I tried to improvise a couple of things with Kevin, the band leader, and me and my character, and it was like no, don't go off script because then I found out much later Jay is really dyslexic, really badly dyslexic, and so everything had to stay the way it was planned. Yeah, he was a great guy
Wow.
though. It was a great
No, he
experience.
was. Yeah, no, that's pretty fascinating. That's how good it seemed because as a watcher of many years, you wouldn't even think that.
So how old are you? You're young, right? But you're
I'm 35.
okay. So even me, even for the original Tonight Show, Johnny Carson. I mean, I was a kid then, but they never changed the studio. So when you would go there, like the dressing rooms were the '70s shag carpet and the wallpaper. So it was like an
Oh,
homage to Carson. And some of the people working there, like the wardrobe lady, I mean, they had been there years and years, and so it's just being backstage. It was just I would when I could I'd wander all around, and I would
yeah.
just think about all the people that had been in these dressing rooms and the drama. I mean, who knows like what would be, the same curtains that just were kind of musty, and Jay wanted to keep it all just like Johnny had it.
The nostalgia. Like I talked to Buddy Hackett's son, Sandy, and like his appearance, like Buddy would always like toe the line with like censors and like upsetting Johnny, and like when Don Rickles would just like roast Frank Sinatra out of
God, I
nowhere.
love Don Rickles.
Like, yeah,
I started see when Joan Rivers was hosting. That's when I love that caustic. I love Don Rickles, Joan Rivers, Sarah Silverman, Kathy Griffin, anybody that just like goes for the jugular. I love that kind of
yeah,
humor. So I got really addicted to watching when Joan Rivers would host. I thought Carson he was fine for me. I was young. I didn't get David Letterman was more my cup
yeah.
of tea. But getting to work on the Tonight Show, it's funny because Scott, the casting director, when Jay left, he left, and he's a real estate agent now and lives in Palm Springs, and he just left the business altogether because he said, "Well, I know I was never going to get a job as good as the Tonight Show, so let me just go out with that memory rather than trying to recreate it." Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess that's true. And then I watched a little bit of it, like your scenes, but in the Hansel and Gretel movie,
That was
which
yeah. That's where
wild, Dee
I
Wallace.
played a mute. I had no lines the entire movie. I did an interview recently. It's still one of the hardest jobs I ever did because couldn't talk. So like anything I had to express had to be in my eyes or whatever. But all that was a physically really demanding role because I did a lot of stunts that I really shouldn't have done, and um, got injured on that set and had
Oh, did
back
you get
surgery.
injured on it? Would you get injured on when that thing hit you in the back?
No, it's just so funny. I got my first take of the first day of the movie. There's a scene where I run out the front door of this cabin to chase Stephanie, who played Gretel. It's literally
Yeah.
the first scene in the movie on a Saturday morning, and I had these boots on, and so they said action, and she ran, and I took off, and there was 4 steps, and I missed the first step, and I ripped my hamstring. I felt it rip, and if you watch the thing, I'm limping. I'm supposed to chase her, and I'm limping to get to her, and I grab her. I'm supposed to drag her back to the steps, and I did, and I was like, "Oh my God, what the fuck?" But you can't. And so the very next setup was Dee comes out, and then we sit on the steps and have a scene with her, and there's this bumblebee wafts right about to sting Dee in the face. My leg is clearly, I'm thinking I'm going to go to the hospital, but I'm not saying a word. And then this bee stings her on the side of the head. And this was day one. So
Oh my
I
gosh.
try not to say anything. And later that day, I couldn't hide the limping around. And Dee finally took me to the side and she goes, "What is wrong with you? Did you hurt yourself?" And I was like, "No, no, no. It's." And she was like, "No, you got to report. You got to go take care of this." So yeah, I did a lot of my own stunts in that film. That scene where the thing hits me in the back. There's
Yeah.
a scene where I have to run down a hill carrying the axe and in the boots and stuff. And we did several takes where they wanted me to roll down the hill, instead of walking. And so, it's like one of those things where they're losing the light. It's the end of the day. You don't want to be that douchebag actor. They're like, Jasper, you were a gymnast, right? You did stunts. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. And so they're like, do you mind just rolling down the hill? And I'm like, yeah. And it looks cool, but then you don't realize how you're just jacking up yourself,
Yeah.
So I ended up having 2 years later, I had 2 discs replaced in my back, and then last year I had 2 discs replaced in my neck from all the stunt work that Jasper should have never done.
I could tell, like, that was after. So in movie wise, she stabs you in the hand. She runs out of the house because I'm not even kidding. I was watching it, and my wife came in, and I said to her, I was like, man, it looks like he's hurt, because when you're going to sit on the step,
I'm dying.
Like it looks so weird because you're like, it looks like your left. I think it was your left leg.
Yeah,
it looked like it was like frozen because you were like trying to lift it and not bend it.
Oh my God. Now you see, I literally ripped the hamstring. And so, and I'm wearing these boots that are huge. And then the moment in the adrenaline, you don't know what you've done, but you just know it's fucking Dee Wallace, and you're not going to mess up this next shot. I knew we just had to get through the first 2 shots, and then we'd cut, But yeah, when I look back, I see myself limping back. But so then to match it, I have to have a limp through most of the movie. So if you ever see me again, I'm dragging my leg because Anthony, the director who went on to do all the short NATO movies, he's like, dude, you're going to have to like drag that leg as part of your character. So there would be times when we do a take and he's like, cut, Jasper, you forgot to drag your leg. Because by then my hamstring had healed up, enough.
Yeah.
See, it's that kind of stuff that you don't see behind the scenes, obviously, No,
that's
funny.
Crazy.
You could notice that I was injured.
I really thought, I'm like, because you did it before that. So I was like, that's just like to me, it was like a weird choice, but I thought like the way Dee raised both of you. So maybe that was like something because how you were like kept away and
right.
But I got to say, she doesn't age.
Oh no, she's ageless, and
it's crazy.
This was a low budget, asylum film, and she took care of everybody, like just safety wise. She was very much about nope, stop, we're not, stop it, we're not.
That's awesome.
Protecting the actors because she's the real veteran on the set, so she's a great lady. She's she's a minister. A lot of people don't know she's got this real spiritual side.
I never knew that. Wow.
She does spiritual podcast, and Church of Religious Science is where she's an ordained minister. So,
oh wow,
yeah. Again, here she does. She plays so many of these horror films, and But that was a great role for her because she got to really play the villain, the bad lady in that one. Because usually she's the good mother, or
or victimized,
or the victim, right? Yeah. That's why she told me she really wanted to play that crazy lady. Yeah.
That's great. So just a few more things that I have to talk about was like we talked about it like when I saw your IMDb, like the homeless, like it worked. There was like a few in a row, and the one that it was really small, and I'm sure maybe it was bigger when it was being shot. But in the Purge Anarchy, that was such a brutal scene. You were one of those homeless guys, like living near in the subway or the train station.
Yeah, and my big scene got cut. My big scene was there's a scene where I'm in a Dipsy dumpster. I mean, you see this homeless guy, and then in the scene, the night of the Purge, I forgot the two. Not the lead actor, but the two co-leads. They're looking for a place to hide, and so they come and they lift up the dumpster, and I jump up and start a fight, screaming at them, and I start a fight with the guy. God, I can't believe I'm blanking his name. But I had this.
I know who you're talking about. They're
Her name is like
the
Kiki
couple.
Yeah, they're the couple in the movie. But we
Yeah.
have this great fight scene, and then he kills me, and it's like it was my big moment in the movie. Um, but when I went to the screening, I knew now if you get cut out of something, SAG requires them to send you notice ahead of time, like you're not in it or whatever. So I knew I was still in the movie, but I didn't know. So all you see of my death scene now is like literally I'm dead laying in the Dipsy dumpster. It's just like this quick, and I was like, where's my fight scene? Wait, what? So, but it's okay because that's another one of those franchises that the residuals just roll in. I mean, and when I've been invited to Comic Cons and stuff, it's I always think it's going to be Macgruber or this, but they're like, you were in the Purge. What was it like to work with Michael Bay and the director? And so it's just always funny. I don't have time to go into the whole thing about, well, you didn't get to see my really good scene, but I mean, it's literally like they just flashed me dead, already dead, laying in the trash can. Okay. And I didn't get that footage. Sometimes I've been able to get footage for my reels, if I'm cut out, but that one didn't happen.
Not for that one. And those movies, it's funny. I love those type of movies, but I don't know why I had this like idea that those were like gore horror movies. And then I watched that one the other night. I'm like, holy shit, Frank Grillo, who I love him anyway in so many different movies. His character is awesome. Like so dark. Like, I could watch a million movies with him. And it's rumored that they're doing another one. Well, I'm sure they're doing another one, but he's coming back.
And is the series still going? The Purge series?
I don't know. I think I saw in there the last year was 2020, but you never know. Like
I think COVID maybe affected everything. Yeah. I went in for the series a couple of times. I know they did one season for sure. But
I saw that.
Yeah, Jonathan's the director, right? Jonathan DeMonico.
I don't know.
God, but anyway, I know I just saw in the trades he signed on a big film the other day. So I think he's staying in the Blumhouse, Jason Blum world smartly so.
Smart. Now, yeah, it's crazy when you think about like how big the movies that they're going to be doing over the next 5 years. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, LA right now, there's parts of LA that I feel like we're in the Purge. I mean, it's just been. I live in Palm Springs and LA, but when I'm in LA now, I mean, with the smash and grabs and people just jumping out of cars with guns. We've got on Melrose Avenue, there's cops on horseback, which is kind of cool actually. But we have cops on horseback, patrolling the neighborhoods, and I don't know. During COVID, it felt like it could be the Purge, with the shutdowns when the towns were shut down and sundown comes and you just think, oh, I got mugged. I got mugged in Palm Springs in my neighborhood, July of 2020. It was a gang initiation. These two gang members, that was their first. They had to rob somebody, and of course,
holy shit!
In Palm Springs, where everything's supposed to be safe, and pulled a gun on me. Both had guns. Busted me in the face with the gun. Stole my iPhone. Knocked my front tooth almost out, and that was here in Palm Springs. I'm like, don't you know? Shit. Don't you know I'm Hollywood's bad guy? Who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah,
but I'm telling you,
people
scary.
Say I'm Danny Trejo.
Dude, I'm not telling. I can't tell you how many times. I finally just go with it now. I just act like I'm him. They'll be like, Machete. I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? Just, we look nothing alike. But I think it's the ponytail. He's also smaller than I am. A lot of people don't know. I'm only 5'7", 8". Danny's like 5'4". I mean, he's a little dude,
Yeah, he's just solid in the way they can make him look. But his story's cool. If you ever heard any interviews with him,
oh god,
it's crazy the fact that he just went on a set to check on his guy. That he was I don't know if he was a official probation officer or something, but he was like helping guys that were in prison. And then I swear, I think it was for Runaway Train with Eric Roberts.
Yeah.
Because it was that movie?
I think so, where he just, they kind of like made him a consultant on the spot of like some prison scenes. You know, he just kind of got known as this real life ex-con who can tell you how to make prison life look real. And then they thought, well, wait, why don't you? Then they gave him a line or two, and they put him in a film, and
then they asked him if he could, and then they saw that he could box, but he fights Eric Roberts in the one scene, and then I interviewed Eric, so I was like, it's so funny in one movie, he's fighting Danny Trejo, and then one of the orderlies that is like one of the guards that's just before they break out, it's Tiny Lister, like an early like Tiny Lister role.
Tiny, who left us too soon. Yeah, Tiny died 2 years ago.
It was December of 2020. I interviewed him while he was shopping at a Target.
Oh, wow. Tiny
I was like, dude, whatever you want to do. He was like, is it okay? I got to go buy a shirt for this autograph thing. And I'm like, dude, you do whatever you want. I'm asking him questions. And then he's like, Doug, I'm sorry. I got to take a selfie real quick. I'm like, whatever, dude.
And he's like, you know, you see people, shoppers going by, and He was a character. He was a cool guy. Yeah. Yeah.
So Jasper, I always like to ask people this, and I'll make sure like I do like a preamble and a post of like all this. So I'll plug like.
Oh, this isn't live? I'm kidding you.
No way. I got to make myself I sound good. So like family business, I'll plug all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I always like asking people like along the way, was there any mementos? Like I think you said it best before, and I love when I talk to people and they say something that I'll like remember forever. I always remember all the conversations, but I love the fact that you're like, you don't know when your break is or like if this is it, because it could be the big one could be down the road. But I always think of like that story when they say the last time you were going to play like neighborhood baseball or manhunt when you're a kid, you don't know when that last time is. When you were on set, did you ever like grab any mementos or like keepsakes or scripts? Do you keep any of that stuff?
Well, it's so funny you said that. I literally I don't know when I started it, but let's just say the last 20 years, I have like a big envelope of every job I do. So it's the script, it's the call sheets, it might be, I don't know, a piece of paper. I mean, there's mementos from every TV film I do, but then what happens is suddenly you realize these are in these old manila envelopes that are in your garage in boxes that nobody's going to care about when you die or whatever. But I do have like every script pretty much starting. I think like 15 years when I started the bad guy stuff for sure.
Yeah.
I think maybe CSI is the first time I did it, but I do. I have like the call sheets and any photos. I mean, now all our photos are on the phone or whatever, but I'm trying to think of I always try to take wardrobe. You know, I always take clothes if I can.
Cool.
I don't steal them, I ask. But like from a family business, I have my biker stuff that I'll be using again, and you know, like bandanas or sometimes like boots. I'm a big guy with the boots.
Oh, okay.
As an actor, I first think about what kind of shoes is the character going to wear, because shoes really affect. If you think about yourself in real life, whatever shoes you're wearing affects how you walk, how you carry yourself, what attitude you have. So I'm big on the boots, and most of the time they try to make me taller, so they want to put me in boots. Yeah. And sometimes they put lifts in the boots, and they put me on an apple box. No. And they put me up. No, I'm not kidding. And I stand on a ladder. Yeah. They just shoot me like right here.
But no, I think that's cool. You said that. That's like improv 101. You mentioned improv before. I took improv classes when we lived in Portland, Oregon, like 4 or 5 years ago. And that's what it is. Like you, when you were going into making a character, it'd be like, okay, pick something your character does when they walk, or like think of what they're wearing, or if they have a limp,
even if they didn't want a limp. Yeah.
Even if they want to limp. And that changes your idea about the character, because would a guy with a limp be happy? how would he be? And then it was so cool creating that character in that, 15 seconds while you're thinking about what you're going to say.
I always call it, I work from the outside in. A lot of actors go internally. I think of like, what am I going to wear? What do I look like? What are the shoes? And then and just sort of rely on the material to, you know, I think really good acting is just listening and reacting. Once you're already cast as the character, you you already, a camera doesn't lie. So whatever you bring on the camera is what you're going to bring pretty much all the time. If you look at all your favorite actors, Julia Roberts, Julia will have signature ticks and things that she does. Jennifer Aniston, every character she's playing, there'll be a thing that she's doing subconsciously. If it's something with the hair, Julia Roberts always gets this one vein in her forehead when she's either upset or crying or laughing. I mean, there's just certain things you can't. I do this thing with my, I do this like, I do this thing with my mouth or the eyes, I call it eyebrow acting, where you raise one eye. So yeah. So anyway, shoes are big. I take a lot of shoes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Sam Elliott, who I got to work with, he gave me the greatest advice. I was working on this pilot for CBS, and all the executives were there, and they were all buzzing around. They all had notes for people, and he's like, "Hey, Jasper," he goes, "Look at all these assholes." He goes, "They won't be here a week from now anyway." He goes, "Just remember, this is not brain surgery. Be nice to everyone, and don't be an asshole." And that was like 1998, and I never forgot it. So that's the greatest thing ever said. And I almost got a part recently on the new Taylor Sheridan Yellowstone, the new series.
Oh, the prequel.
I didn't know Sam Elliott was already on it, but I was like, shit, because I haven't seen him since 1998. But that's the kind of cool thing. Like, it would be so cool if I had gotten cast and showed up at the table read, or you know what I mean, or showed up on set and there was Sam, because that does happen. That happens with like a crew people a lot, or hair and makeup or whatever. You'll go onto a set and you're like, oh my God, where did we work together? And it'd be like 12 years ago on that commercial, or it's a real fun kind of reconnection.
And I think the perfect full circle moment. And before we started this, I was thinking Jasper. I've never met a Jasper. The only Jasper I know is where the Double Deuce is in Roadhouse. And you just mentioned Sam Elliott.
Greatest guy ever. I mean, he and Jeff Bridges are my two favorite. Like, they're totally, I mean, they couldn't be any more different, right? But
yeah.
Like, I want this gray, silver, long hair, like, Sam cuts his hair, but you know what I mean. But I just think, look at both of their careers. I mean, Sam is still in the game. He's does it all, voiceovers, TV, whatever. He just keeps, like most of the character actors, like we talk about.
Yeah.
Harry Dean Stanton was another one of my favorite character actors, where I was like, yeah. So, do you remember Gunsmoke?
Yeah.
Do you remember Festus on Gunsmoke? He was the dirty.
I wouldn't know the names. I remember watching the show, but yeah.
He was the dirty, grungy character actor. Recently, some guy said to me, "You remind me of Festus on Gunsmoke." I was like, God damn. Really? But then I thought, wait a minute. That was a really cool, fun character. That's basically the characters I'm playing now. So you have to let all vanity go and just be like, yeah.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love shows like yours, because I see your genuine like love of what you do, and like you love the whole pop culture and the industry, and and I'm like, I've got this head full of like useless pop culture, TV, 70s, 80s nostalgia kind of shit that most people don't care about. So I appreciate.
Oh, I love that stuff.
Kids like you, I'm 50. I'm only 20 years old. I mean, I'll be 58 in a few weeks, but
No, my dad always prided. I think it was like my dad always wanted me to show me like what he enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I was a young kid, I was watching Death Wish at way too young of an age, and like The Great Escape from Alcatraz, and like so many of these movies, Planet of the Apes, and like so many of these movies that I appreciate it.
Right.
And just those were the VHS tapes. My dad was a garbage man in Jersey, so like he would find VHS tapes of like, and it was like a lot of sequels. So like, I love all movies, but I think it was like cool niche to do. And I appreciate you saying that, because I do appreciate the process. Because I think one of the first interviews I did was Kevin Kilner. He was on the board of SAG. Like, I don't know how long he was on it, but when I talked to him, he was one of the board members, and he told me the percentage of people that live off of acting. And I was like, not even the percentage. It was like the number, the real number. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, it's really, and let me tell you, the middle class actors. So just like I don't want to get, but just like the rest of the world, where it's the have and the have-nots.
Yeah,
that's where we are now with the industry. It's the big stars, and then it's the rest of us who it's pretty much take it or leave it. Jasper, here's what the price is. There was a time in the 90s and 2000s where I would have a quote and a weekly quote and a thing. And now I always tell people, well, if I don't take it, Willie Ames and Scott Baio are signing in right behind. You know what I mean? I'm just, Jason Harvey is in the car waiting. I mean, it's just the days of like being able to negotiate. I'm trying to think of other people. But
I love those two names. The two names that you chose are great.
But he's already back big with the Cobra Kai.
I know he is. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, so I tell people my age, either do it or get out of the business, because this is how it is. Take it or leave it. If the day that I'm not enjoying myself, I will quit, because nobody wants to be that bitter, jaded old guy on the set. Back in the day, and trust me, it's there. Some group auditions, I hear the guys complaining about, hey Jasper, remember when? I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it. I always say, remember guys, this kid over here, this is for him, this is the business right now. He doesn't know any different, and 20 years from now he will have a different experience of when he started. So shut and just be happy you're here. Just be grateful that you're still working.
Hell yeah, Jasper, this is an awesome. I usually try to keep it to an hour, but that was such a great chat.
I can talk forever. Sorry.
Yeah. No, don't worry about it, dude.
Great to meet you.
I loved it.